Good evening. Welcome to the March Board of Education business meeting. At this time, we have a quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for February 2025.
Second.
Moved in second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Madam Clerk, correspondence?
Letters for the purpose of retirement from Janet Miller from Wheeler Avenue, Mary Downock from Willow Road, Lisa Dimple from Willow Road, Adam Martiran from Powell Road, and Angela Luchenko from River.
Thank you. And for the visitors, we have nothing for the first comment period. We have plenty for the second. So we will move on to the report of the superintendent.
Good evening. Welcome to the March meeting of the Board of Education. This afternoon, the district communicated with families regarding our decision to select Mr. Hoplasky as the next principal of the Wheeler Avenue School. We are confident that this decision will bring needed stability to Wheeler Avenue. We're also very excited to share the news about the first assistant principal in our district's history, which will be included in tonight's proposed budget presentation. We understand, seeing who's here tonight, that this is a difficult decision for the Howell community, for the teachers who have worked with Mr. Hoplasky for a long time, and for the community members who have had Mr. Hoplasky as their principal for over 20 years now. Because we know how important Howell is, and we understand that this is such a significant change, the district, the Board of Education, and I are very committed to working very closely with the staff and families at Howell and also at Wheeler about the hiring process over the next few months. In my letter this afternoon, I outlined a plan that will include many opportunities for the staff and families to be involved in the hiring process and the selection of the next principal of Howell Road. I look forward to working with the staff and the families on this to ensure that we have the next principal that meets the needs of Howell Road. So we will keep the continuum informed regarding our work to make sure that everyone has what they need for the coming school year. The Board of Ed and I are deeply committed to providing the best possible education for our students. Recently, we've committed to a strategic planning process so that we may become increasingly proactive as a governance team. We have engaged in a long-range enrollment planning study to better prepare for the future needs across our district. With a goal of increasing transparency, we have added recordings of both the monthly Board of Ed meetings, and we began a monthly Board of Education newsletter. We've also increased targeted discussions at our work sessions related to topics of interest to the community. Next month, at our April 7th Committee of the Whole meeting, Mr. Svensson, who was our former interim Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, will be presenting the results of the strategic plan survey and the focus groups that were held in December. Please join us in person in the boardroom on April 7th, and we'll be sure to watch the live stream or the recorded meeting so that you can stay up to date on our strategic planning. Tonight's agenda includes resolutions for work related to the Willow GP room roof and the Wheeler Avenue Gymnasium roof replacements. To In order to move forward with the Wheeler roof, the project requires NYSED, or the New York State Education Department, approval, and that is currently under the review process. You can find that project listed if you go to the New York State Education Department website and search under planning status. You will see all of the projects that are under consideration for the district. We anticipate having the Wheeler roof approval within the next month, and that's based on an estimate of the 8 to 12 week approval timeline that is currently underway at the New York State Education Department. Once that approval is given, we will determine the next available window for that work to take place. Last week, I met with Mr. Levin, the District Superintendent of Nassau-Bossies, along with the superintendents of districts participating in the regionalization process. The focus of our discussion was reviewing a needs assessment tool that the 11 districts submitted to Nassau-Bossies. The group discussed the need to work together regarding solutions related to transportation, as all districts are experiencing ongoing increases in this area. We also discussed pre-kindergarten, special education, and space needs across our districts. I will continue to keep the board and community informed as this process continues. I have a quick reminder that the deadline for submitting applications for non-public school transportation is April 1st. That is right around the corner. You do not have to be accepted to a non-public school to apply, and you may make multiple application submissions if you are not sure which private school your child may attend next fall. Tonight is the annual presentation of the proposed budget. I have asked Dr. Radis and Mr. Antoine to join me in sharing what we have developed for the board and the community for the 2025-2026 budget. I believe the proposed budget is highly tuned to the priorities of the community while remaining fiscally responsible to taxpayers. The Board of Ed has worked closely with the administrative team on this most important endeavor for our school district. So without further ado, we're going to present the budget.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to start our budget presentation by talking about the student body here in Valley Stream 13. We really strive to make all of our budget decisions centered around our students. So here in Valley Stream 13, we have just over 2,000 students. 150 of them are our youngest learners in pre-K. About 7% of our students receive English as a new language services, and about 18% of our students receive special education services. And our average class size is about 21 students, and you'll hear more about class size and the consideration in the budget as we go through our presentation tonight. A little bit about our elementary program and what students experience each day. All of our students receive Tier 1 core instruction in the 4 major subject areas like English Language Arts, Math, Social Studies, and Science. Our students go to specials each day, like library, music, art, physical education. We implicitly and explicitly teach social emotional learning through special programs. And as a team, we've talked a lot about future-ready skill development and technology. We definitely look ahead. This is elementary school. We consider what students are going to face in their secondary experience, and then possibilities for them in their post-secondary pathways. As far as special services, we have many to support the various needs of our students. We have special programs and various models in the areas of special education and English as a new language. We provide speech services, services in occupational therapy and physical therapy, and we also have a teacher of the deaf in the form of a consultant model. We also have various support services to meet the needs of our students. We provide academic intervention services in the areas of reading and math. We have 3 district-wide instructional coaches in the area of literacy, math, and technology. Our coaches work alongside our teachers, as well as to provide support to students. And then we have aides in all of our pre-K and kindergarten classrooms. Wellness and well-being is always a focus in our district. Some of you might remember that we did host a family event earlier this year in November that was focused on supporting students' well-being at home. Here in school, we have a psychologist and a social worker in each of our buildings. And you might remember last year in the budget process, this was a really important topic in the conversation. So a district-wide psychologist and a district-wide social worker was added. So we have Ms. Cuevas, who is our district-wide psychologist, Ms. Garcia, who's our district-wide social worker. They work with students across all 4 buildings. And then we have Mr. Boyle, our district-wide guidance counselor, who also works in all 4 of the schools. In the area of enrichment, we provide several opportunities for students. So all students have access to our innovation labs in our schools, where we have curriculum-aligned experiences that students can participate in, mainly in areas of science, technology, engineering practices. This year, something that was new, all 2nd graders received push-in support from our technology coach, Ms. Alvarado, and she taught a series of lessons about the importance of digital citizenship. Also new this year, Ms. Gary, our gifted and talented teacher, provided enrichment opportunity to all 3rd grade students using Edison robots. Edison robots provide students opportunities to do some coding, to play music, or to perform certain obstacles. And then in 4th grade, our students receive enrichment support from Ms. Gary in the area of Gravitrax, where students learn about marble runs and kinetic energy, really enriching and fun experience for kids. And then our formal gifted and talented program, or G&T as sometimes it's referred to, is for students in grades 4 to 6. We continue to receive accolades in the areas of art and music. You'll be getting an invitation soon. Most recently, our students are going to have an exhibit of their artwork at the Henry Waldinger Memorial Library in Valley Stream. So their work will be displayed throughout the month of April, and you are welcome to go and check out their work. And then in music, we have our ensembles, chorus, band, orchestra, and some specialty ensembles. We have a grade 3 recorder program, a 6th grade ukulele program, and our students participate in festivals and NYSSMA each year. As far as transportation, 48% of our students receive transportation. Additionally, 2% receive walk-back passes, and 123 students receive transportation to private or special education schools outside of the district. As I mentioned before, we just want to circle back to some of the conversations and the work that was done in the budget process last year by extending our gratitude to the community for passing the budget last year. We were able to add, again, a district-wide social worker and psychologist. We had enhanced security. Many of you, have made comments about the positive enhancements of our guards here in our buildings. We added additional clubs and assemblies. We did some updated science curriculum work. We added an additional pre-K class, additional inclusive special education classes, and we were able to maintain class sizes. So we want to thank you for that support from last year as we introduce what is new in the budget conversation for this year.
Last year, when we wanted to engage the community, we had a budget-specific thought exchange. This year, we had an overwhelming response to our strategic plan survey, and a lot of information in there did relate to priorities that the community has for a budget focus. So we used the information from the strategic plan thought exchange in developing priorities for this year's upcoming budget. Our budget priority goals this year, of course, always to make sure that our students' needs are met. One of the big things that we heard and have continued to hear over the past several years is the desire of the community to make sure that our class sizes are as low as possible. We always want to maintain the amazing programs that Dr. Radice just spoke about in the beginning of the presentation. We know that everyone has been very happy with the new security guards that we've implemented and Mr. Napolitano, our Director of Security. So we wanted to ensure that this budget was able to sustain that work. We also heard a lot from the community about improving our facilities, the grounds and playgrounds. And we want to make sure we are aligning the budget to the community's priorities and also ensuring that the community understands how the budget development process works. This year, our challenges within the budget continue to be the ongoing fluctuation in our state aid. So over the past several years, we have had a much more increased level of state aid. That has decreased again. It's still at a good state, but it's been fluctuating over the past years, and I'm going to provide you with a little bit more data on that. Our tax levy limit, or the maximum amount that we can ask the community to raise taxes this year, is at 2.12%. We're going to talk more about the tax limit as well in future slides. Something that has been very difficult to manage in the budget has been the ongoing increased cost of transportation. You may have heard that the state has required schools to have buses with electric vehicles. We do not have our own school buses, but we contract with the bus companies, and that will be required of those bus companies. So the cost of that future implementation is being passed on to the school districts. We have increased our amount of special education and EML services. Those are both mandated services. So that has more students require those services. It requires increases. We continue to be burdened. We, I say us, but the taxpayers are burdened by unfunded mandates. Those are things like what I just mentioned, the electric vehicle or the electric bus mandate. You're required to do it, but there's no funding given by the state. Also things like the testing program. Every school district in New York is required to test students, which has a cost to it, and none of that is funded by the state. Also, as we know, the external economic conditions impact the budget. So when the cost of goods rise outside in the community, they also rise for the school district. So increased costs of supplies and materials. So these are some of the challenges that we worked with within the current budget proposal. So going back to the feedback from the strategic plan, if you remember, we had the community survey, and then Mr. Svensson met with a variety of groups of parents, staff members, and the board administrators. We took all the information that we got from the strategic plan to decide on what we wanted to include in the budget as we built the budget. The budget building process actually starts in October. And these are some of the real highlights about what's going to be new in the budget for next year. And I hope that the community feels strongly that we have taken the input from the strategic plan, and you'll see the results of that in what the proposed budget is. So I think most importantly, something that we have been hearing and we know is important is having an assistant principal. So next year, we are implementing an assistant principal. The principal will be split between Howell and Wheeler Avenue. The responsibilities at Howell will include the pre-kindergarten program, and the second half of the day will be spent at Wheeler to support Wheeler. So we have two very large buildings in our district, Howell Road and Wheeler Avenue, both around 600 students. So this new assistant principal will do a lot to support our students, and it will allow our mental health providers to spend more time with kids. So that's a win for both of those buildings. We have managed to, again, lower the average class sizes. We are adding a half of a instrumental music teacher to Willow Road. Willow is the only building that only has one instrumental music teacher, so we're adding a second half there. Dr. Radice is currently working with the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, and we anticipate putting a recommendation up to the board to adopt a new K-5 social studies program. We heard a lot in the strategic plan about the need to make our curriculums more up to date. The sixth grade already has their social studies program, so that's why they're not listed there. Another thing that we are going to do again for the second year in a row is we're going to rebalance and increase the clubs and assembly budget for each of the buildings. The assemblies, we're very lucky, a lot of the assembly in the district are supported by our PTAs, but we want to make sure in these more difficult economic times that we still are able to provide those special experiences to students through assemblies and after-school club programming. And we're going to have our writing professional development. This is also something that comes up a lot in the surveys, is that parents would like students to be able to write at a higher level. So we're going to continue to work with our teachers and ensure that they are learning the best practices towards writing instruction. We also have in the budget a .4 ENL teacher. As I mentioned before, we've had a increase in the number of students requiring English as a new language services in the district. So we're adding a .4 teacher. We are going to add a small special class at Howell next year. This is wonderful because we're really proud of our inclusive special education program in the district, and all of the students who will attend that small class at Howell are actually Howell students, so they will be able to attend that program in their home school, which is a wonderful thing. So we have the special education teacher for that, but we need a teaching assistant, so that teaching assistant is in the budget. We have Chromebook replacements, which always takes place in second grade. The students have their Chromebook from second grade through sixth grade, so we have the annual replacement of Chromebooks. Mrs. Amengo, who is our Director of Instructional Technology and Innovation, will be upgrading our Lego kits in our Innovation Lab program. The existing kits are pretty much end of life. These new ones have new coding capabilities, so that will be wonderful for the students. We also know that we have more work to do to improve our facilities. So we have taken this facilities code, which is $195,000 this year, and we've raised that code to $245,000 in order to do more in-house and small in-house facility projects, such as last year, we changed 2 of the floors in classrooms at Wheeler Avenue School. So we'll be able to do more small projects like that. We also want to bring some of the work that we pay contractors for into the district so that we can be more cost effective and able to get work done more quickly. So we've included in the budget more manpower for our facilities through an additional maintainer. We have added carding funds for carding into the budget. Right now, only one of the buildings has garbage pickup on a regular basis. So next year, all 4 of the buildings will have that. That's a health and safety issue. It seems like a minor thing, but it's really important for keeping the facilities clean. And our last thing that is in addition to the budget is that we are going to make sure that the nursing and security staff that we have during the school year is equivalent in our summer programming. So this is something that we wanted to point out in the budget, how we've been able to reduce class sizes. This is data from the 2018-2019 school year compared to what we project for the 25-26 school year. This data is based on the February 1st enrollment data that I received from the buildings. I receive that data every month, and as we continue through the year, we'll continue to look at enrollment, and if we need to make adjustments, we can do that. We always look at the enrollment at the end of the school year, and then we look at the enrollment again right before school starts and make any adjustments to the sections. But right now, based on the planned sections, which for the 25-26 school year is 101 class sections plus 9 pre-K sections, the average class size across the district will be 19.75. And that compares to the 21.75 that we had in the 2018-19 school year. And as Dr. Radiz mentioned, this year the class size average is it's about 20.5, 20.7. So the board continues to make a commitment to have sections so that there are more classes than is required by the class size guidelines.
Good evening. Thanks for coming. Glad to see everybody. I normally do this to an empty crowd, so it's nice to see that everybody comes out for the budget meeting. So in an effort to update our buildings, we continue to do capital projects. So in the budget for the 25-26 school year, you'll see that we put money in the budget to do the Deaver Library. $300,000 to do a capital project to renovate the Deaver Library. When we do capital projects, we have to get a building permit through the State Education Department, Office of Facilities Planning, SED. SED's approval process has come down significantly since last year. Last year, around December, it was 28 weeks for approval. Now it's down to 8 to 10, 8 to 12 weeks for approval. So if you remember, in this budget, the 24-25 budget, we put money in to renovate the Howell Library. That will take place over the summer of 25. So the Deaver Library will take place over the summer of 26. The good thing is that when it's all said and done, all 4 libraries will be completely renovated. Then we have a proposition. So there's a proposition number 2, to spend $1.2 million from the capital reserve. The proposition is going to include improvement to the Wheeler field. So we're going to put sod on the playground over at Wheeler. We're going to put an irrigation system so that way it gets maintained all year long. We will also add we'll also add sprinklers. We'll fix the broken sprinklers around the building to make sure that the entire campus is maintained all year long. We're going to add a main structure. We're going to take out the main structure at Wheeler and add a new main structure over at the new play structure at Wheeler, and we will replace the dinosaur structure at Wheeler because that dinosaur structure is extinct. I tried. I tried to, bring a little joke into it. But anyway, at Willow, we're going to remove the adult play equipment that's at the end of the blacktop. We're going to remove that, and then we're going to add a sliding play structure. And over at Howell, we're going to add a pre-K play structure that will have a bench and play panels. So that's everything that we're doing in terms of playgrounds. We will also do security enhancements. We're going to add fencing at all of the recess areas at all 4 schools, and we're going to change the classroom locks. So right now we have key entry. We're going to change it to card swipe at all of the classrooms, bathroom, and the main office. In the event of an emergency, it will be better, instead of teachers trying to fiddle around with their keys, trying to lock down the classroom, all they have to do is use their key swap. And that comes at no additional cost to the taxpayers. So the budget for the 2025-2026 school year is $69,678,502. That's a $2.3 million increase over this year's budget. As Dr. Baraka mentioned, and you'll see in future slides, the budget doesn't increase as much as in previous years because we have lower state aid. However, the budget will be able to maintain our lower class sizes, or to provide lower class sizes, maintain all of our educational programs, and help us to improve our facilities. The tax levy associated with this budget is 2.12%, which is at our tax cap. However, that tax cap is lower than the average on Long Island. The average tax levy increase on Long Island is 2.62%. 3-part budget. The budget can be broken up in terms of 3 parts. You have a program component, capital component, and an admin component. The biggest part of the budget program, we spend 76% of our budget on programs. That's all expenses that are directly related to teaching and learning. That's the lion's share of the budget. That's where it should be. We want to make sure that we have the best teachers, that we provide our students with the best quality education. Then we have the capital component, 14%. That's the facilities, maintenance, and our facilities and maintenance staff. Our facilities and maintenance staff do a good job, so we are always willing to do a good job by them. And then we have the admin component, The admin component is all expenses related to our Board of Education, our central administration, supervision of curriculum instruction, finance, personnel, and legal. So those are the three parts of the budget. So we have $69.7 million in expenses. You need $69.7 million in terms of revenue. $25.7 million comes in the form of state aid. The biggest portion of our state aid is foundation aid. 75% of state aid comes in the form of foundation aid. We have building aid. 10% comes from building aid. So all of the projects that we do, we get aided at our building aid ratio of 75%. So that makes up the building aid. And then we have the expense-driven aid, that's such as transportation, hardware, software, etc. Our refund from BOCES, Medicaid staff revenue, and our pilots projected to be about the same for next year. However, the interest and the other revenue slightly down for next year. With all of the fluctuations going on in the economy, we don't expect to receive the same amount of interest that we were receiving this year, so that's down slightly. And the other revenue primarily is our summer rec revenue, any donations that we might receive, and any money that we receive whenever we rent out our buildings. Our tax levy is about $40 million, 2.12%, which is at our tax levy limit, but lower than the average on Long Island. And to offset the budget, did not need to use as much in terms of reserves, so it's down to $2.7 million for next year, down from $3.2 million this year. Revenues equal expenses, $69.7 million.
So you can see that this year's tax levy at 2.12% is a little bit higher than what we've asked the community in the past 5 years. And as I said earlier in the presentation, that has to do with the amount of state aid that we've been given. 2.12% is still a small, a relatively small amount, approximately, now I'm forgetting my numbers. That's the $2 million, sorry. That's the $2 million that Gerard mentioned. And the budget to budget is the difference between last year's amount of $67 million to this year's amount of the budget of $69 million. So relatively small budget to budget. Those budget to budgets that you saw in the prior 2 to 3 years are from the large increases in state aid that we have. One of the things that I think is sometimes difficult to understand is that we all talk about the 2% tax cap. However, the 2% tax cap doesn't necessarily mean 2%. And the tax cap limit, or the highest amount that we can raise taxes, has to do with a formula that Mr. Antoine does and has to submit to the Office of the State Comptroller. All of the school districts in New York do that. They create their tax cap calculation. They find out what the limit is. In our case, it's 2.12. They submit that to the state. And then the Board of Education's budget, we decide what to ask the taxpayers for. When we had those higher rates of state aid, we were able to produce the 0.75 and 1.5 requests to raise taxes. This year, with the reduction in state aid, in order to meet our obligations, it's important that we ask the community for the full amount of the 2.12%. So your tax cap calculation can actually be a negative number. It can be well over 2%. It can be under 2%. Last year, our district had the lowest tax cap calculation on Long Island. That had to do with the fact that we have done a lot of building projects. We got a lot of building aid. And then that offsets so that we are not able to have as high a tax levy. So again, we do understand that this tax levy is larger than it has been in previous years, but as Mr. Antoine said, it's still relatively low compared to the average tax levy on Long Island. And it makes sure that we can maintain all of the amazing programs that we have. And it is the reason why we are able to put new things in the budget, like the assistant principal, the extra music teacher, the teaching assistant, the extra maintainer. All of those things are what the 2.12% is going to afford the community to improve our schools. And here you can see those state aid increases that were offsetting the tax levy in prior years. This is when the governor decided that she would commit to fully funding foundation aid for all school districts in New York State. Now we're getting back to a relatively smaller amount of state aid, but still a very good state aid amount for our district. And we're going to be watching closely to see what happens in next year's budget. Because this portion of the budget is very important. You can see that it is $25 million of the $69 million budget. So state aid is a significant portion that helps us keep all of these programs going. So the state aid difference from the prior year to this year is an additional $2 million. The tax levy that we're going to ask residents to contribute is $800,000. That gives us $2.8 million in additional revenue. As Mr. Antoine showed on his revenue slide, there are some reductions in revenue. That makes up about $561,000. So the total new funds that make up the difference between last year's budget and this year's budget, or the 3.39%, is the $2,282,428. We always like to share what we're doing with that extra $2 million. So on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see the increased costs due to our contractual obligations. So we have contracts with all of our unions with negotiated raises. So that is the difference in last year's costs for staff is going to be an additional $741,000. As I mentioned before, there's a rise in costs of goods and services that makes up $135,000. Our additional special education costs are $300,000. The additional transportation costs are $384,000 this year. And the benefits and insurance that go with the contractual obligations is another increase of $200,000. So all of those mandatory costs are about $1.7 million. Then we have about $500,000 to make all the things that the community wants happen. So it's a very small amount of money to be able to do all of those what's new things that we shared in the beginning. But those student services like the extra music, the teaching assistant, and the ENL teacher make up about $200,000. The assistant principal will be approximately $125,000. Those additional clubs and assemblies is $25,000. And the additional maintainer and the additional money for our facilities is about $138,000. So this is the obligations we have on the one side, and this is the new money and the new programs that will benefit our schools.
Reserves, these are the reserves that we have in our district. We have several reserves when we use those reserves to offset the budget. I just want to point out one in particular, the capital reserve. The capital reserve is unique in the sense that it requires voter approval to establish and voter approval to spend from. So we're using the capital reserve in this budget. Proposition number 2, spend $1.2 million for the upgrade of playgrounds and security enhancements at no additional cost to the taxpayers. So if a school district's budget, when voted on, does not pass, school district has several options the first time around. School district could put that same budget up for revote, could change the budget, take something out and put it up for revote, or go directly to contingency. But if the budget fails the second time around, a district must adopt a contingency budget. So if we had to adopt a contingency budget, our budget would be $68,342,337. That's a $1.3 million reduction from the proposed budget. So what does that mean? That means that equipment expenses are not allowed under a contingency budget. Purchases of supplies such as pencils, paper, and basic art supplies not allowed under contingency. After school clubs, so the stipends that we pay the teachers to do all of the wonderful clubs that we have, not able to do that under contingency. Expenses related to the use of our school buildings, so if we have to pay for overtime for facilities, or if we have to pay overtime for security, not allowed to do that under contingency. any expense related to the transfer to capital, so we would not be able to do the Diva Library. We're not able to have new BOCES services, and we're not able to hire any aides unless that aid is required as a part of the student's IEP.
So we aim for our budget to always be responsive, and fiscally responsible in these large areas that we plan for, like pre-K, our inclusive special education programs, safety and security, our high-quality instructional programs, and mental health and wellness. And then specifically for this budget, just to summarize, we are going to propose to add a district assistant principal, some additional staff, a 0.5 in the area of music, a 0.4 in the area of E&L, and then a 1.0 TA for a special education class. We have improved class sizes, continue to provide high-quality security with some enhancements. We have some renewed curriculum, more clubs and assemblies, and then enhancement of our maintenance staff and our facilities improvements.
Okay, and that's all at a 2.12% tax levy, a 3.26 budget to budget, and a total budget of $69,678,502. So at the ballot, for those of you who will be voting, you will be seeing 5 different propositions on the ballot. Remember, we are a elementary school district in District 13, but there's also the Valley Stream Central High School District. So the first proposition on the ballot will be the adoption of the budget that we just talked about. The second proposition will be to ask taxpayers to expend $1.2 million from the capital reserve. That's money that has already been collected from taxpayers. It is not an additional cost, but it does require voter approval. So in order to have what we talked about on that slide, the playgrounds, the field improvements, that is proposition 2. And then the high school district's general budget is proposition 3, and then they have 2 additional propositions, one for proposition 4 for a capital expenditure, and proposition 5 for a investment in a new building. The budget vote is on Tuesday, May 20th. It's in all 4 schools from 6 o'clock in the morning till 9 p.m. We are going to be updating the district's budget information website. You will see the line-by-line budget, this budget presentation, PDF. You will also have this video, so if anybody wants to rewatch it, they can. We encourage feedback from the community. We also want to make sure that people have all their questions answered. So if anyone in the community has questions about the budget, you can email myself directly or Mr. Antoine. Our email addresses are up there, and you can also get our email addresses on the website, but we would be happy to answer any questions that anyone has so that the community can make an informed decision about the budget. And now we'll have any questions from the Board of Education.
I have a question. In your numbers where you talked about class size, I don't see the numbers for Wheeler Kindergarten this year.
There's no kindergarten numbers on there for next year because we don't know what those kindergarten class sizes will be.
Okay,
Yeah.
understood. Understood, thank you.
Yeah, and we, as I said before, we're tracking enrollment all through the year. Before the principals leave for the summer, we look at the enrollment, make decisions if we need to add anything. Since we developed the budget last year in August, I believe we added 3 sections that were not in the budget in order to make sure that we're keeping the class sizes as low as possible. Okay. Okay. Thank you to Dr. Elise and Mr. Antoine. Public can make comments if you fill out the form.
So we can't ask questions about the presentation time?
No. There will be a public hearing with both the Valley Stream District 13 and the Valley Stream Central High School District budgets on Wednesday, May 7th at 7:30 p.m. in the auditorium here at the James A. Deaver School. So the actual budget hearing will be on Wednesday, May 7th at 7:30 here in the auditorium. And that concludes the report of the superintendent. Thank you, President Grosso.
Thank you. Moving on to Education Committee, Trustee Vicente.
I'll pass it on to my colleague, Trustee Sabatino.
Trustee Sabatino.
Good evening. Our microphones aren't working, so I have to use like the big girl microphone. I move item 1, appointment of reading teacher. Resolved, the Board of Education hereby appoints Erin Wade as a reading teacher, tenure area elementary education literacy, on step 1NA for the amount listed in the motion, on 4 years probation, commencing on April 7th, 2025, and expiring on April 7th, 2029.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I believe Ms. Wade is here, so congratulations and thank you for joining us. I move item 2, appointment of part-time E&L teacher, to appoint Zainab Rashid as a part-time E&L teacher on step 1MA for the amount listed in the motion, prorated for the number of hours worked, effective March 26, 2025 through June 30th, 2025, and unless sooner terminated.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move item 3, appointment of occupational therapist, to appoint Laura Calderon as occupational therapist for the 2024-2025 school year at a salary listed in the motion.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move item E, education committee consent, number 1 through 8, on page 3, following to the middle of page 4.
Second.
Moved and second on the question.
I'd just like to acknowledge the staff who will be retiring. We will have the formal acknowledgement at the June meeting where we will celebrate all the retirees. So I invite everyone back in June so that we can formally thank them for their service in the district.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. That concludes the education. Moving on to the Business Committee, Trustee Farrar.
Good evening, everyone. I move item 1, the 2025-26 proposed budget, also known as Proposition 1, that the Board of Education adopts the 25-26 proposed budget in the amount of $69,678,502, and that the budget be presented to the voters in the district, and that the district clerk be directed to place the budget in the above amount on the ballot in accordance with previous instructions.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move item 2, expenditure from capital reserve, Proposition 2, as listed in the motion.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move item 3, the 2025-26 Central High School District proposed budget, Proposition 3, as listed in the motion.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move item 4, the 2025-26 Central High School District voter proposition, Proposition number 4, as listed in the motion.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move item 5, the 2025-26 Central High School District Capital Reserve expenditure, Proposition number 5, as listed in the motion.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move item 6, the approval of the annual risk assessment plan. That the Board of Education hereby accepts the annual risk assessment update pertaining to the internal controls of district operations from Serini and Associates, and hereby approves the assessment plan.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move item G, Business Committee consent, numbers 1 through 5, which is listed on page 6 to the top of page 7.
Second.
Moved in second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And that concludes the Business Committee for this evening.
Thank you. Moving on to policy. I move item 1, policies for second reading adoption, to approve and adopt the following policies: 6700 purchasing, 6700R purchasing regulation, 1120R school district regulation, and 8113 extreme heat condition days.
Second.
Moved in second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I have a policy update here. The policy committee met on Tuesday, March 18th. We reviewed policy 1145, dissemination of materials through schools. This policy will set up for first reading in April and second reading in May. The committee also reviewed the NYSBA policy 2245, which is ex officio student member. This policy is not required as we do not operate a high school within our district. And the committee reviewed policy 432112 and 432112R, use of timeout room, physical restraints, and adversives. While the district does not use timeout rooms and physical restraints, section 19.5 of the rules of the Board of Regents require every school adopt the provisions found within the policy. The committee is recommending incorporating the revisions of the NYSBA recommended policy, and this policy will be up for first reading in April and second reading in May. The policy meeting will review the facilities use policy and the non-resident policy at the next meeting in April. And that concludes policy. Moving on to facilities.
Nothing to report from the Facilities Committee.
Okay, thank you. And Committee of the Whole, Vice President Gabriel.
I need a motion to amend the consent agenda.
Second. So motion to amend the consent agenda. Moved in second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move the board to table agenda item K3, declaration of impasse for discussion during executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, we're gonna move 1 through. Move the agenda as a consent agenda, amended, taking out section 3.
Second.
Moved in second on the question. All those in favor? Aye. All right, motion.
Now I move as a consent agenda 1 through 8, excluding 3.
Second.
Moved in second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That concludes
Okay. Moving to the report of the attorney.
The attorney's report has been filed with the district clerk.
Thank you. Anything on the high school report?
No, I'm sorry, I don't this evening.
Old business? New business? Okay, now we're gonna head into our second comments period. And just want to read this out. So we're convening to the public comment period for our meeting. Now, we've chosen to do this because we believe it's crucial to hear from the community members about their concerns and issues. And now, having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. And although the board and district officers won't respond to questions and concerns tonight, we take the concerns and questions seriously, and we want to have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. We will, however, respond to your questions and concerns at a future meeting, or have the proper staff member get back to you at the appropriate time. So the board will now entertain public comments for 20 minutes, and each individual speaker is allotted 3 minutes. That has to be kind of enforced. We have more than the 20 minutes worth of speakers tonight, so if you do have some time, want to give everyone a chance to speak, and we will start that comment period now. So, number 1, Anna Mihalos.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a reading teacher at Howell Road School. I've been there for 20 years. I stand before you today with a heavy heart as I express my deep displeasure regarding the recent decision to move our outstanding principal, Frank Huklowski, to the Wheeler Avenue School. This is not just a loss for Howell staff, but for the entire community that has come to rely on his leadership, vision, and commitment to our students' success. We all know that a great principal is not just a figurehead. They are the heart and soul of a school. They set the tone, they foster relationships, and they inspire students and staff alike. Frank Huklowski has done just that and more. His efforts have transformed our school into a place of growth, respect, and academic excellence. His connection with the students is unmatched, his dedication to the staff is unwavering, and his positive impact on our community cannot be overstated. It is with genuine concern and frustration that we ask, why would you move someone who is doing such incredible work? Why would you take away the leader who has helped shape the school into the thriving, supportive environment it is today? This decision, though made with what may seem like good intentions, feels like a step backward, and we are left questioning why it seems that those who do the most good are sometimes the ones forced to leave. We acknowledge that the needs of the district must be met, but we implore Dr. LaRocca and the Board of Education to reconsider this decision. There is no doubt that Frank's leadership is essential to the continued success of our school. Moving him to Wheeler may not only disrupt the progress we've made at Howell, but it will leave a void that will be hard to fill. In conclusion, I ask that we reconsider this decision, take a step back, and reflect on the real value that great leadership brings to our schools. Mr. Huklowski's remarkable impact should not be something we take for granted. Let's keep the leadership that has brought us so far, and let's make sure that those who excel are not moved away from the very place where they make the biggest difference. Thank you.
Barbara Farrell from Howell Road School. I'm here tonight to speak to you all about the leader of our family, Frank Huklowski. When faced with a situation where we find ourselves powerless, all we have is our voice. I ask that you listen wholeheartedly and consider the grave impact that your decision will have upon us. Leadership goes far beyond the walls of a building. Frank is our foundation, our rock. We are a family because of his hard work and dedication. Howell is a special place because he made it so. Taking our leader is equated to ripping out the heart of our family and destroying the foundation Howell has been built upon. We've been through weddings and births and deaths and divorces, and through it all, Frank has led us. He's pushed us to be the best that we could be. He supported us when we didn't think we could make it. Frank has done it all. He's held hands, wiped tears, laughed out loud, and pushed through the hard times for us all, his staff, his parents, and his kids. He is and will continue to be a fabulous leader wherever he is, but he will be forever changed by the loss of his Howell family. I am heartbroken that you have torn our family apart, and I ask you to please reconsider. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education. Good evening, members of the Board of Education, Dr. LaRocca, members of the administrative team, colleagues, and community members. My name is Paula Varnick, and I am proud to say that I have been an English as a new language teacher here in Valley Stream District 13 since 1999, and I've also taken on the very important role as the district coordinator for the E&L program. I am especially here this evening out of my love and my respect for my students, their families, my colleagues, and our principal. Thank you for the opportunity to address all of you regarding the Board of Education and Dr. LaRocca's decision to transfer Mr. Frank Huklowski, Howell's building principal, the very heart of Howell, to Wheeler Avenue School. Over 20 years ago, Mr. Huplowski took on the challenge of becoming a young principal at Howell, at which time there existed instability and wavering leadership from previous educators who tried unsuccessfully to fulfill that role. His journey at Howell until the present day did not happen by chance or with ease. It took his intelligence, hard work, compassion, trust, and most importantly, his loyalty and love for children to inspire all within his presence to be a part of the Howell family that strives to respond to the needs of our students and their families to this very day. Mr. Huplowski has certainly earned the respect of the Valley Stream community, and his funds of knowledge and experience have resulted in him being a trusted resource, mentor, and educator. He has served the district above and beyond in many endeavors, including launching the pre-kindergarten program and housing the district offices during their renovation projects. He is a problem solver who wants the best for everyone so that their best can trickle down to the children. The Howell community is fortunate to be a part of his journey, and it definitely was our expectation that it would continue with a happy ending, wherein we would eventually be wishing him well in retirement, not a tearful transfer tearing him from Howell. And so I ask you, how can one be penalized for their commitment, dedication, and loyalty to a school and a district? Isn't there a better way to take the talent and the love and the leadership that exists in this district to help build a better future for all the children, all the families, and staff at Wheeler and at Howell? Why would one cause seismic cracks in the very foundation of the heart and soul of one learning community to seemingly try to build the foundation of another learning community? Sacrifice is too great, and our love for the children is too important to institute such a questionable approach, and therefore I respectfully implore you to reconsider the decision of transferring Mr. Frank Huplowski from Howell Road to Wheeler Avenue.
Thank you. Ms. Christina Thompson.
Good evening. My name is Christina Thompson. I'm a mom of two of the girls at Howell Road. I come to you as a parent and a member of the community and one of the many parents here today. Much like the teachers who have come before me, we are all very disheartened at the decision to remove Mr. Huplowski from Howell Road Community School. He has been foundational in not just my children's education experience, but many children who have come before them. I am friends with parents who have children at Howell, who are also students at Howell, who have an endearment to Mr. Huplowski, who are wonderful adults because of the foundation that he gave them. Much like the teachers, much like the parents who are here, we're asking that you guys reconsider your decision. It was not one that was made with the thought of the community in mind. We understand that Wheeler is in a moment of instability and they do need some change, but the change should not come at our own detriment.
Ms. Michelle, I can't read the last name. Rico, there you go. Thank you.
Is this one work also? Or just that one? So my name is Michelle Rico.
Hello? Okay. My name is Michelle Rico, and I'm a parent at Howell Road, and I've been there since my child's been in kindergarten. She's in 4th grade right now at the moment. Thank you for the opportunity and the time to speak today. I am here as a concerned parent and active member of the Howell Road community. The sudden decision to remove our principal is deeply unsettling. He has raised the academic standards across the board and has brought strong leadership to every part of the school, especially your preschool district, your preschool program that is at Howard Road. Okay, in case you forgot, which is the largest and still developing area of Howard Road. This exchange was made without any external input from the community. That is unacceptable. As parents and stakeholders, we should be part of the conversation, especially when the decision impacts our children's education so directly. Let us also not forget, 50% of your school budget of $69 million comes from the community due to your levy increase of 2.12%, which is an increase from last year of over 182%. All right? That makes us, in many ways, the majority shareholder, not the state, since you just made that very clear in this school district. And yet, we were not given a voice. No transparency, no collaboration, just a last-minute change that puts the stability of our preschool program and the rest of the school programs at a risk. We do not support this decision, and we respectfully ask that it be reconsidered, or like Christina mentioned again, come up with a better plan, because taking an asset and moving it to a liability side is not a contra asset account. That's not how you balance it. We do not support the decision, and our children deserve leadership that is present, consistent, as in anything we do in math, and invested in the daily lives. Our principal has done just that, and removing him now would only disrupt the progress that we have all worked so hard to build. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me? My name is Lisa Weinberger. My daughter Sadie is a second grader at Howard Road, and she's been there since preschool. I grew up in Valley Stream. I went to Howard Road. This is the first meeting I've come to because this, I feel, is the most important issue that I've been around for. I want to express my deep dissatisfaction with the decision to remove Mr. Hopkowski from Howell Road and place him at Wheeler Avenue. I know Wheeler Avenue needs help, but taking him from Howell Road and from our students is the wrong decision. He brightens up the school. He knows every student's name. The students love him. With respect to the strategic plan strategy and the thought exchange, it seems like the decision was made specifically to keep the community out of the decision. We were just notified of it a couple of hours before this meeting. Why weren't we given time? Why weren't we allowed to give you input? I want to just second everything that everybody said. Mr. Hopkowski is such a big part of our community. He brings all of our students together. The students love him. Pulling him out is like pulling out, like everybody said here, the heart of the school. And there's no good reason to do that. If you're hiring other people to come into the district, why not just hire somebody new from Wheeler Avenue? From what I see as a parent, Howell Road is thriving. It's mostly because of the staff, and I know that the staff are thriving because they've told me, some of them, that it's because of Mr. Hopkowski. They like coming to work. It seems like just such a poor decision that nobody gave any thought to, and I'm asking you please to reconsider.
Ms. Wallace?
Bring it back. Bring him. Tell them. Ain't nobody coming out of here quiet.
Hello. Hi, good evening. I'm a parent of this district. I have two young adult children who have gone through this school system, the entire school system in kindergarten. They started at Howell Road School a long time ago. Most of these teachers I know. I was a PTA president, involved, a class mom. I did it all. And I will tell you, I think this is a bad decision, and I feel like it's unfair that I had to sit here in this meeting, didn't listen to a lot of your budget because I wanted to write down so I can make my point about how unfair this seems. And as other parents have said, you've put us in a really bad position. You send out a notice in the evening, and then you announce it at a board meeting. Like, I've been coming to board meetings for many, many years. But like what a certain person said tonight about, usually you have these presentations at empty rooms. Well, it's empty because we're a happy community. We're satisfied. Because we're not happy. We're not happy with how this is working. We want us to pass a $69 million budget. Well, we need to be part of the process. So just going to take some time to read some points. I know my time is going. There was talk earlier about stability at Wheeler. Yes, I understand that's important. We are one community, we're one district, and stability is important. But why should stability be ripped away from one school just to fix a problem with another? I work for a very big organization, and that's not how we fix problems. You appear to disregard any of the ongoing future stability at Howell. Your timing of this notice is very concerning. Impacted families had no opportunity to offer feedback about the change that will significantly impact their children. I learned as an actively engaged parent in District 13 about the importance of social emotional learning. The person who taught me that was Mr. Kublowski. He understood the cultural diversity of our community. He supported us as families. He was our family. He was part of our family. You've outlined your plan for a $69 million budget, but all we can focus on tonight is how you're planning to upend our school just to meet the needs of another school. This appears to have all kinds of challenges. If Wheeler, it appears to me, is having issues with maintaining their leadership, that's not the issue of Howell. That's the issue of the district that you need to make. And I will be coming to every budget meeting, and I encourage all of you to come to every budget meeting until this is resolved.
Thank you, Ms. Stephanie Marquez.
Good evening, members of the school board, Dr. Baraka. Thank you very much for giving us this platform to talk. I really appreciate it. I too, as so many parents have already spoken, come to you as part of the Howell community. I am someone who has been heavily involved in the PTA for many, many years. I had the privilege of working with Frank during the pandemic, which put everything to a halt. He handled it just so amazing. And he helped make sure that our PTA continued to thrive, and we were almost at the point of disbanding. And now our PTA is stronger than ever. And it's in large part due to Frank and his support. And the decision to take him away from us and put him in another school is deeply unsettling, and what feels to me as very last minute, and without input from us, without a heads up. And for it to be happening just in September is really quite astonishing. And, you know, so as so many people said already, Frank has been, you know, a dedicated principal at Howell for several years. His passion and education and commitment to nurturing our students' growth has earned him a cherished place in the hearts of his staff, the parents, and most importantly, the children. Under his leadership, our school and the pre-K program have flourished in ways we had not imagined possible. We implore the decision makers to consider these facts. It is under Principal Kublowski's guidance that Howell Road School Elementary has seen consistently high levels of academic achievement, and under his stewardship, the school has forged strong community ties. We are already living through unprecedented uncertainty regarding the future of education in this country. And our families deserve peace of mind when it comes to their children's education. Removing him from his post could disrupt the continuity of success that our school enjoys, potentially impacting our children's future negatively. I implore you to reconsider this decision. Our families, our communities are very diverse and are already struggling with the uncertainty of the policies that are being administered by the current administration. Furthering that on such a local level, is just, it's gonna be catastrophic. Please, I implore you, reconsider this decision.
Mrs. Trish Brown?
Good evening. I'm going to preface my statement by saying apologies. I have a massive migraine that I've had all day, so you're not going to hear me speak with the usual fervor, passion, and organization that I would normally come to this meeting with. And if I gave you a really crappy hello at the start of the meeting, I'm really sorry. Hello, Mr. Antoine, Dr. Reduce. I know I barely even said hi. So, I could fill my time talking about just various anecdotes of my interaction with Mr. Poplawski, who I have come to have great affinity for. Really, I could come up with a million different times, like the time when my child was accidentally or marked lost, and he ran outside himself with his walkie-talkie and ran all over the playground and found my kid, and held my hand basically on the phone and said, "I've got him, Trisha, I've got Noah in my sights." A random new principal isn't able to do that because they don't know me and they don't know my kid. More importantly, they don't know my kid. So I could give you countless stories of how important Mr. Poplawski is to me, but I'm going to move on from that. And I also going to preface and say, normally I would come to this meeting and say, I'm very supportive of the budget, and I generally am very supportive of the budget. I'm sad that I'm going to not spend more time talking about the budget, and I'll have to circle back about my individual concerns and how low fifth grade way too high. But generally speaking, community, I am in support of the budget. Okay, back to Mr. Poplawski. As a supporter of the budget and as a supporter of the community, because anybody who knows me knows that I am a very strong advocate of this entire school district. And I don't think there's any human being alive who wouldn't say that that is not very true. I hate Facebook. I'd love to get off of Facebook, but I admin the Valley Stream District 15 Parents page because of my care for this school district in its totality. That includes the support of an assistant principal at Wheeler, which I have been in support of since I first heard mention of it 2 years ago. And I think many of you on the board and the administration can absolutely say, you have heard me say Wheeler needs an assistant principal. So I am all for supporting all of our schools, even if it is not my own. And I'm glad that's in the budget. However, when we talk about the instability at Wheeler, and we say Wheeler has a lot of special, individual needs. It's the biggest school in the district. Yeah, by like 10 students or 11 students. Howell is the same size. And we say, well, Wheeler is a Title I school. Yeah, well, so is Howell. And we say Wheeler is crowded, and they're dealing with a lot in that building. Yeah, well, so is Howell. Howell also has probably more of a language gap than any other school in the district. Howell has more of a cultural gap than any other school in the district. I know it's 3 minutes, but I'm going to go over, and I apologize. I'm just not as organized as I'd like to be. But I'm almost there.
I'm just going to give you another 20 seconds to finish up, please, because we are over our limit.
I understand.
Give everyone a chance to talk tonight. I appreciate what you did in Capitol.
I understand. Howell also has a more transient population than any other school, probably in all of Valley Stream's 14 schools, when you consider that 25% of our students are in pre-K and leave every single year. So to develop a momentum, to create cohesion in its school, where 25% of your kids and families leave every single year, is a monstrous affair. So to take all of that with the consideration of the instability that Howell teeters on the edge of, and say we're going to rip out your principal and bring him over to Wheeler, is beyond an injustice to the families that exist at Howell Road. So I implore you, as everyone who comes before me has also done, to reconsider this decision and its tremendous impact on the families of Howell Road.
Thank you. That concludes the recognition of visitors. Can I get a motion for executive session, please?
Make a motion for executive session for personnel.
Second.
Moved in second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And that concludes our board meeting. Your executive session. Thank you.